It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
Let's talk about something I resemble. 40-year-olds.
Now we titled this, How Are We Going to Pay for All of This? I think it would be valuable for all the folks out there in Money Guy land to actually hear the title that you came up with for the 40s.
Realize I resemble this. It's
I know, that's what I'm saying.
I think it's interesting. When we got to the 30s, we call it the messy middle. It is such a messy middle that your title was still short because I don't think you had time to reflect as much as I did. I'm now wounded warrior status. I'm sentimental. When you get in your 40s, you recognize you're kind of mortal. That you got retirement in the future, but you also need to be making long plans even beyond that.
Yep.
So here's what I titled it. The short 40s, wounded warrior, but then this is the stuff that I added on top. How are we going to pay for all of this? Have we saved enough for the kids' college? Crap. What about retirement? Oh, and beware of the midlife crisis. So that's not really a title. That's kind of like
a stream of
abbreviation of all the things that I think go through the mind of people in their 40s. Now, look, there's a lot of great stuff, too. And the fact that I think there is nothing sweeter than the fact that when you do recognize you have a mortality to you, you get more sentimental about things. You appreciate things more. I've gone on more reunion trips with like high school friends, college friends, just because you want to reconnect with people when you get this opportunity. But this is, look, it's easy for the 20-year-olds. It's easy for the 30-year-olds because they have this compounding growth factor which gets double-digit exponential growth on their assets. That's how powerful it is. But that doesn't mean that compounding interest is dead for 40-year-olds either. You can still get a great opportunity to let your money do the work for you, do the heavy lifting, but you do need to start getting serious because retirement is right around the corner for you.
And Transamerica did a great study, and this is what they found. They found that 2/3 of workers believe they don't know as much about retirement as they should. Well, you know what? We have a great solution for that. Listen to the Money Guy show. At your workplace, just send out a blast email. Say, hey, check out this show. It's talking about folks that are our age doing the things that we're doing. 30% say they don't know anything about asset allocation. Even that's gotten easier. If you're still someone just building, just starting out, you don't have to know a lot about asset allocation anymore because there are things like target retirement funds that can solve that for you. And then 20% admit to not knowing how their retirement money is invested. Now, that's the one thing that I have a little problem with because you need to know what you're investing. Even if it's just a target retirement fund, you need to at least know that because how many times, Brian, do we review somebody's 401k account and all through their 30s, it was just like sitting in a stable value fund because they never went and actually put the army of dollar bills to work. Don't let yourself be the 40-year-old that wakes up and says, holy cow, what's my army been doing?
Well, the reality is your retirement assets, you're not going to touch for we're talking decades.
Yep.
So why should volatility, the risk of losing something in the short term, really jade your decision-making for when you can't even touch this money for 20 plus years? So think about that. Don't let short-term mistakes derail your long-term opportunities because like I said, still an opportunity here. We want to talk about what the power of your army of dollar bills is. What does it take to be a millionaire? Even if you've started at zero at age 40, there's still a chance there.
Yeah, if you're a 40-year-old and you want to start saving to get to $1 million by 65, you got to save about $780 per month. So if you think about that 25-year period that you saved, you will have saved almost $250,000, $234,000. But 77% of your $1 million still came from growth, from compounding interest, from your army of dollar bills doing the hard work. It is still possible, even if you didn't wake up until your 40s.
Now, I like to think, because there's people like myself, that we started saving in our 20s and 30s. They're not just stuck with what the growth. Now, that's incredible. 77% of your retirement assets are actually coming from the growth, not the principal contributions. Right. But there's also going to be a group of people, like I said, that have already started saving. Let's talk about the power of your army of dollar bills and what that means for them.
So if you are one of those mental mutants that's been doing this, we have a great resource out on our website. You go to moneyguy.com/resources, and we call this our money multiplier. And you've heard us talk about this 88 times over concept for a 20-year-old. $1 turns into 88, which is so awesome. But one of the things that you ought to be thinking about as a 40-year-old, if you are someone who's done the things that you're supposed to be doing, you should be thinking about what's my wealth multiplier. And if you go download this deliverable, we actually have every age, from age 20 all the way to 65. So I'll just use a 45-year-old, for example. Let's say that you're a 45-year-old, you've been saving, and you have $1 million built up for retirement by the time you get to 45. If you didn't save another dollar, that $1 million, that army that you've put together, should be able to be multiplied by 4.46 by the time you get to age 65 without saving another dollar. That just shows you how powerful the work that you did in your 20s and 30s can be from your 40s all the way out to age 65.
So go to moneyguy.com, get this deliverable. You can see the multiplier, so you can at least do a spot check, see what you have at each age. We have this each year between, as you said, 20 to 65. Do a multiplier of what you have. Get excited. Let that be something that shows you what the opportunity is. And if you find out you're a little behind of where you think you want to be at retirement, use that as also the motivation to pick things up. Because, Bo, we talk about best time to start saving is when you're 20 years old. Second best time, today.
Right now,
I mean,
today.
just jump in. Don't let it be something that messes you up, because there are lots of opportunities. So I want to kind of talk about, we talked about how much should you save and then how much should you have. This is a running theme with this by age series we've been doing. So what should we have saved if we're in our 40s?
So if you're a 40-year-old, and again, your goal is to replace 60% of your pre-retirement income, and we just assume that your income increases every year by 1.5%, a 40-year-old to replace 60% needs to save about 26% of their income.
Now, this is assuming you're starting at zero.
Starting at zero. You haven't done any work yet.
That's not reality for everybody, but I want to show this just in case somebody is picking this up. They just figured out, hey, I've woken up. I've realized saving for the future should be important to me. This is assuming you're starting at zero.
If you're a 45-year-old, you actually have to save 36% of your income to replace 60% of your retirement. And then if you wait till 49 years old, you have to save almost half of your income every year from the time you're 49 until you're 65 to just replace 60% of your income.
Now, the good news, if you are saving the 20%, as you can see, we want you saving more than that. You've got to be a hyper saver, but it does show that there's still opportunities because maybe here's something we don't talk about. Social Security could be a safety net, but you also, some of these people might have pensions, so you could stack pensions, Social Security on top of these balances, because the older you get, the more likely you might have other income sources at retirement. So that means even for a 49-year-old, that if you 25% might not sound like a great retirement, but if you stack Social Security, pensions, you're going to be okay.
And remember, this has you retiring at 65. Maybe you have to work till 67, maybe 68. This at least lets you know that your army of dollar bills can still work for you.
So let's talk about what the average American's doing, though.
So if we look at the average 401k balance for folks in their 40s right now, it's $39,200. But if you look at the median, it's $111,100.
I still think, because you're getting close to retirement, in the next few decades, there should still be more. And a lot of people, you're a financial mutant, you're part of the Money Guy family. What goal you should have is you should be shooting, by the time you're approaching 50 years of age, I want you to have 4.8 to 5 times your gross income by the time you enter that decade.
Love it. That's exactly right.